welcome to another edition of Christian Answers. My name is Pastor Jeff Short, and I'll be with you today talking about an important topic that has been in the news this past year, and it's the issue of Gordon College in Massachusetts has been under some controversy because of, first, it was joined in together with some other Christian colleges in this opposition to the contraceptive mandate in the so-called Affordable Care Act. And as a result of its joining in with other Christian colleges such as Wheaton College and then other institutions like this Little Sisters of the Poor, the Roman Catholic Church entity, the Gordon College came under fire from the local municipalities surrounding the college, and some of these towns and villages actually severed their relationship with Gordon College. Gordon College had shared responsibilities for caretaking of this certain museum in the area, and now the village that they were sharing the duties for caretaking this museum has severed relationship with Gordon College because so-called Gordon College is not diverse enough, and Gordon College is not tolerant of minorities and so forth. You know, all of these charges based on Gordon's strong Christian, evangelical, Bible-believing convictions about what is right and what is wrong, morality, specifically in the area of human sexuality. The secular forces, the political forces now in work in our culture are coming against institutions like Gordon College, and they are making it hard and difficult for them to function distinctively as Christian institutions. Well, that was just the start of things for Gordon. Gordon then was placed under review by the accreditation board that has to sign off on their college in order for Gordon to be able to recognize students for graduation and then their degrees recognized by other higher institutions. So this was a very important thing for Gordon, that they would be recertified, re-recognized as a valid, accredited college, that their degrees would hold weight. And so this board, accreditation board, gave a review of Gordon's college and in facility and student environment, and they were concerned because they had heard reports that Gordon was not friendly to the, quote, LGBTQ community, which is a big deal nowadays in the secular world, especially with the U.S. government, especially with our current administration and the climate in Washington. It is now almost unthinkable in some government quarters to even question the popular consensus now on so-called LGBTQ issues. And Gordon and other Christian colleges, of course Christian churches, hold to the Word of God. We do not cave in. We do not conform to the culture. We try to teach the culture. We try to evangelize the culture. Our role is to be the moral teachers, the moral and responsible spiritual leaders, and so we don't follow the crowd. We try to get the crowd to follow Jesus. And so in respect to morality, we hold to the biblical definition of marriage as a man and a woman. We hold to the understanding that the Bible gives us according to what is holy and what is sinful behavior. And so a Christian college like Gordon College has to hold to higher standards. And so by doing so, they put themselves at odds with a lot of the secularism that is in society. Well, what happened was, in order to be accredited, Gordon College formed a working group and did a review of all campus and college practices in order to better conform to the standards of this accreditation board and show that to the board that they weren't in any way violating the standards of conduct. And so this is what the accreditation board said of Gordon after this process. They were finally accredited, reaccredited, and there's no problem with the college giving out degrees, but this is what the board found. Let me read it. The commission found that the report from the college describes a careful and extensive process of engagement and reflection regarding Gordon's issues of sexual orientation and gender identity. It is clear to the commission that the college has taken seriously the process of examining their success in supporting LGBTQ students. So in other words, the board says, well, Gordon has finally taken seriously its responsibility to provide support for LGBTQ students based on Gordon's report of its activities and improvements over the last 9 months. Well, my question is, what gives this board the authority to stand in judgment over a Christian institution on areas of morality? I mean, I can understand academic standards, I can understand teaching standards, I can understand comprehensiveness if Gordon's students are not passing exams that are given by the board. If Gordon's academic standards are low, I can understand that. But for a secular outside board to put pressure on a Christian institution to compromise on its morality, that is way out of bounds. And I don't think that this board should be allowed to come into a Christian institution and say, okay, now we want you to make progress on being gay-friendly or supportive of the so-called LGBTQ community. I think that's crossing the line. And I think because Gordon basically gave into that idea that this board can control even morality on the campus and how Christians view these practices, I think it opened a bad precedent for Christian colleges. Christian colleges should not be in the habit or practice of accommodating to these secular accreditation boards on matters of morality. This statement that says that Gordon is making progress in supporting LGBTQ community members, I don't understand what that means. Does that mean that Gordon is now affirming LGBTQ students or people? Does that mean that they're making progress in getting to the point where they're going to, at some point in the future, affirm what now is called a sin in Christian theology? The board, the accreditation board's summary of Gordon's progress doesn't seem to be good news for Christianity. And so we have to step back and say, wait a minute, we may succeed in getting our accreditation for this year, but what have we given up to get there? And that's something that I think we need to be really, really careful about. Another thing that the board, outside board said was, for commitments it is making to improve student care around LGBTQ issues. Again, what does it mean, student care around LGBTQ issues? It isn't the role, and it isn't the goal, and it isn't the business of a Christian institution to be giving care and supporting what the Bible calls sin. So what does it mean to support these people, and what does it mean to give care to these people? That's the language of the pro-gay movement, and we shouldn't be buying into that language of support and care for people who are living evil and sinful lifestyles. So the Gordon College, in receiving this positive report from the board that accredited them, it's positive in the sense, yes, they got their accreditation, but at what price? So I want to talk more about what Gordon College has done in its attempt to win accreditation in the next segment of Christian Answers. Don't go away. Well, welcome back to Christian Answers. My name is Jeff Short, and I'm reviewing what Gordon College went through in the past year in getting accreditation when it was reviewed by a secular outside institution, and also its response to what it has to do to get accreditation. And it formed what was called a working group, and this working group surveyed the campus of Gordon College and the environment of Gordon College, and it made some recommendations, and also it provided a plan for implementing certain policy changes and practices. And so I want to just read some of the things that Gordon College as a college said of itself, and what they consider, the people who implemented this considered a success. And so here is a question that was given to the college, and it answered it on its own website. It says, can you share some of the specifics from the outcomes of the working group and other discussions this past year regarding how Gordon cares for all its students? So that's kind of a loaded question, because it's saying that some of the students, there is some concern that all of the students are not being cared for. Well, I'm not sure that that's actually true. I'm not sure that any of the students were not cared for, but at least this question is seemingly implying that there are some students that are not being cared for. Now, who might those students be? Well, in this context, we all pretty much know who these students they're talking about. Of course, they're talking about the so-called LGBTQ people that are now being pushed upon Christian institutions, Christian churches. And so Gordon has come up with some what they call improvements. That's the word they used. The working group has come up with some improvements, and one of them is improving the care of LGBTQ students. And then they list a whole list of activities for improving the care. Now, my question is, what does it mean to improve the care of LGBTQ students at Gordon College? Let's look at that little phrase LGBTQ. It stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer students. And how does a Christian college go about improving the care of these students without affirming the sin of those people who self-identify as that? Now, that's a problem in and of itself. If you have a student who comes into the college and is confused about their sexuality, is confused about their identity, the last thing you want to do is start affirming them in their confusion. The last thing you want to do of a person who is so-called identifying transgender is to affirm them in that confusion and then magnify the confusion. And so is that what Gordon College is now seeing as an improvement, because the college is more affirming of these so-called LGBTQ students? I really don't understand what that means. It's not really spelled out, and it seems to be a contradictory thing. Are we now teaching that this activity, this behavior that has traditionally been understood and biblically defined as sin, is now okay, that we're now going to affirm it, we're going to care for these people specially so that they feel really good about themselves? Or are we going to what does that mean? That's a big problem. Another thing that the report says is the college will explore extending the reach and services provided to our LGBTQ students. Again, what does it mean to increase and extend the reach and services provided to our LGBTQ students? It doesn't make any sense if you just leave it the way it's stated. Does that mean that you're going to cater now to these students? Say a person is confused about their sexuality, so now you're going to even encourage them to what? Seek out outside resources or to affirm themselves in their confusion. As Christians, we want to teach the Word of God. We want to teach people to conform to God's will. We want to disciple people. Well, how is this a discipleship process? How is this a discipleship task when you're extending services to LGBTQ students? And what does it mean to have, quote, LGBTQ students on campus? Are we talking about people who are confused about their own sexuality, and that's what we're talking about? Or are we talking about self-identified, rebellious people who are defying the will of God and who are on campus and who want to assert themselves like is happening on secular colleges and universities? If that's the case, this is totally a misguided policy. Well, let's go on. It says here, perhaps the greatest accomplishment over the last 9 months has been the decreased stigma on the Gordon College campus associated with being LGBTQ, as expressed by several of our students who identify as gay. That whole sentence is a big problem. That whole sentence should raise red flags to Christians who are looking upon this college who is trying to work out this whole situation. Why is it a success? It says that perhaps the greatest accomplishment over the last 9 months has been our decreased stigma on the Gordon College campus associated with being LGBTQ. Why is that a success? Why is it a success to decrease the stigma of a sin? If you would you do that to adulterers? Would you say the greatest accomplishment in the last 9 months is that we have decreased the stigma of being an adulterer? Or name any other sin. Maybe they would extend that sin to encouragement to fornication. The greatest accomplishment in the last 9 months has been to decrease the stigma on Gordon College campus associated with fornication. Why is that an accomplishment, as it says here? This is Gordon College assessing itself and reporting to this board its activity in response to the board's concern about the college's sensitivity to the so-called LGBTQ community. And Gordon is saying that it's accomplished the decreased stigma of being LGBTQ. Well, think about those letters again. L, lesbian. It's decreased the stigma of being lesbian. It's decreased the stigma of being gay. It's decreased the stigma of being bisexual. It's decreased the stigma of being transgender. It's decreased the stigma of being queer. I mean, how is that an accomplishment? That is a big mystery to me, and I would like to hear what Gordon College has to say about itself, because it doesn't seem like a very Christian victory in making that concession. I see it as a concession to get recertified, but I don't see it as a success in any way in the Christian world. And I need to talk more about that in the next segment of our third segment of Christian Answers. Don't go away. Welcome to the third and final segment of Christian Answers. My name is Jeff Short. I'm looking at the Christian college, Gordon College in Massachusetts, and they are explaining to their accreditation board why they have become a friendlier place for LGBTQ so-called students. And they also go on to say that they have formed a task force called Life Together, based on a book by the same title, a book that calls Christian communities to unity even across differences. Now, the difference here in this respect must be differences in what? Understanding of what is sin and what isn't sin. Are they trying to say that we have to learn how to get along and be in unity even with those people in our Christian Gordon College community that disagree that homosexuality is sin, or disagree that marriage is only between a man and a woman as taught by the Bible, or I don't quite understand what they are saying that the differences are, but that's what would seem to be implied in the context of the discussion that we're having here, is that they're saying we need to be able to unify around the really important things and not things like definition of marriage or definition of sin. I don't understand it. It seems to be very ambiguous. It doesn't seem to be a very clear statement. I think I understand what they're trying to say in regard to the board that is responsible for accrediting them. I think that they're speaking to that board and saying, see, we're more open-minded, we're more tolerant, we're more diverse, but as far as Christianity concerns, it doesn't seem to be a victory. It doesn't seem to be holding the line as far as Christian truth is concerned. It seems to be more of a political concession to me. So that doesn't look like a good sign to me. Another thing they have done in regard to this working group policy is to incorporate concerns of LGBTQ students raised during the discernment process. Also, an expanded anti-bullying policy with stronger disciplinary actions against bullying. I wasn't aware that there was a bullying problem on Gordon College campus. I wasn't aware that there was a bullying problem at any Christian college campuses. In fact, I understand it the way it is, that these college campuses tend to be very open and tolerant already. In fact, as I understand it, at many of the Christian college campuses, they're even more open and tolerant than the scripture guidelines call for. And so when you talk about the millennial generation, the ones that are going through college right now, even the Christian younger people tend to be very tolerant and diverse and accommodating to even sins that they shouldn't be. So where is this bullying taking place? I'm not aware that there is any bullying taking place at Gordon College. I don't know if there are any documented cases of bullying taking place. So why would you need an expanded anti-bullying policy for a problem that doesn't exist or exists minimally? And what does it mean to bully? If you look at the gay rights movement, they're going to say that anything that they perceive as derogatory or negative toward their lifestyle is bullying. So if you had a student who is so-called identifying as gay, and another student hears about it and wrinkles their nose or looks strange at them, would that be bullying? Perhaps under this definition, that's what it would be. So any kind of action or statement or thought even that is negative toward the LGBTQ agenda might be considered bullying. Well, that's silly, and I don't think Gordon College is really being helpful here when they're trying to tell the world they're taking anti-bullying measures and beefing up the discipline for violations of their anti-bullying. Well, that's just silly, because I don't think there was a problem to begin with. It also said expanded training for all faculty and deans and directors around issues of diversity and sexuality. Boy, this sounds like a public, secular university or college environment. That's the language of secular education today. And now we see it at a Christian evangelical college. They're using the language of diversity. They're using the language of tolerance and about sexuality and sexual identities and all this kind of thing. This is coming right from the LGBTQ playbook, and we really shouldn't see this as anything positive. We should see it as a negative, because it's really watering down what we should be doing, is teaching the distinctive truths of Christianity and not watering it down. Well, finally, the document talks about members of the Gordon College Working Group held diverse convictions at the start of the process. And my question, what does that mean, diverse convictions? About what? About sin? Some people thought maybe marriage is a man and a woman, and some others in the community thought could be a marriage of anyone to anyone. At the end, diverse convictions, it says, remained. How diverse were the convictions? You mean to tell me that the Gordon College University community holds diverse convictions on what sin is and on what the definition of marriage is, and whether homosexuality is a sin or not, or that kind of diversity? What is the diversity they're talking about? At the end, diverse convictions. The working group reflected to a large degree the differing positions held by members of the campus community on the topic of homosexuality and Gordon's policies regarding sexuality. The larger database within the broader church community. The board was sensitive to those varying positions and clearly recognizes that the campus and Gordon's constituents are not of one mind on this topic. They're not of one mind? What does that mean? Does that mean that they're not even on one mind that sin, as outlined in the Bible, is sin? Or that marriage, as outlined in the Bible, is what marriage is really all about? Is that what they're not of one mind about? You see, they're trying to communicate the idea of diversity. They're trying to tell the world, look, we're so diverse that we can't even speak with one voice about what sin is. We can't even speak with one voice about what human sexuality is, or what marriage, or what constitutes a marriage. So we're a diverse communities here at Gordon because we don't even have one mind on these subjects. So it says here that over the last 9 months, will be incorporated the insights into this statement, but it will be broader and more inclusive of a larger issues related to historic Christian teachings and contemporary views of sexuality. So what happens is they're going to come up with an expanded definition of the college's statement on human sexuality, and it says at the end, bringing together historic Christian teachings and contemporary views of sexuality. That doesn't sound like a good Christian statement about human sexuality when you bring in Christian teachings and contemporary views of sexuality. Sounds like to me they're going to water down Christianity to a secular standard. And this is something we need to be praying about, that the Christian colleges of our country and around the world will not cave in and will not conform to the spirit of the age. We need to stand truth. We need to be the lights in the darkness, and we need to let the light of Christ shine in our dark world and not compromise. People pray for Gordon College, pray for Wheaton College, pray for all of these colleges, that they will not water down the faith, that will not compromise and concede to a secular pagan world that we live in. We need to hold the line. We need to be strong in a time like this and not be weak. God bless you. We'll see you back here next week on Christian Answers.